Don't be like her. Prior to the IAM, there was just memorizing, nothing else. Now that's basically the last thing on our minds.
Time's up.
I didn't finish.
Give me your paper. How'd you do?
Probably terrible.
Well, you're right.
In history, vocab tests are a huge part of the class. Vocab takes quite a bit of time to do, and most of us procrastinate until the last minute. So, tip number 1, I repeat, do not procrastinate on your vocab, especially when you have a vocab test the next day. Be sure to get your vocab done at least a class before your vocab test. Obviously, Dakota didn't follow that rule. This would tie into self-management, an ATL, or approach to learning. Being self-conscious and having self-management skills about what needs to get done for certain classes will only help you out in the end. For instance, try to manage the time it takes you to do your vocab by using a planner. Or, if having a planner doesn't work, try focusing on improving time management in different ways as a part of your self-management ATL. For example, make a list of what assignments you have as well as their importance. In order to make an anti-procrastination list, first decide which assignments are most important and due earliest. Then complete those assignments first. After that, move on to the next important assignment and so forth. Also, be sure to complete the homework you enjoy least first so that you don't run out of motivation later on. Additionally, a common theme with new freshmen is stressing over one bad grade. Instead of doing this, improve your affective skills and reflection. Practice telling yourself, "It's okay. Everything is going to be all right." This will only help you persevere and bounce back from adversity. One easy way to do this is through meditation. Lastly, after getting that bad grade, try new study habits. Oftentimes, students will return right back to their old ways, continue to get the same grades, and wonder why they see no improvement. Try asking yourself, what do I understand? What do I not understand? What questions can I ask to improve my understanding? And what weaknesses and strengths do I have in my process of learning and or studying? It may seem cliche, but it works.
I love men. I'm not going to deny it. I love men. Well, boys we're talking about this school. But this crazy thing only got in the way of my schoolwork. Obsessing over wanting a guy got in the way of my confidence and even schoolwork. So tip number 2 would be to not get caught up in trying to get in a relationship. It is not worth it. This would be reflection, a part of the self-management ATL. Reflecting on my actions, such as obsessing over the next guy I had even the slightest interest in, would have helped me immensely with schoolwork and confidence. But you know, boys will be boys. Just don't get too caught up. It will help you in the long run. Trust me.
Another big ATL that would go along with not obsessing over men would be communication. Communicating with others and seeking out help to deal with the crazy hormones a lot of us struggle with will only help you in the end. Some ways to improve in communicating would be to reach out to your peers and teachers to ask them questions. This may be extremely difficult at first, but as studies show, 3 in 4 people who ask for help have had success in this after the help from others, according to reachout.com. Once you've done this, it may be extremely difficult to get your point across to whoever you're venting to. So that leads me to my next tip. How to get your point across. A huge part about communicating is being able to communicate your problems and questions to others. Some tips to help you with this is to think about what you will say before you actually say it. You can easily write down your questions or concerns on a notebook or notes on your phone, and then you'll be able to think about something before you say it. You are 42% more likely to do or say something if you write it down, according to Inc.com, which just shows how much better you can be at communicating if you write things down before you say them. All in all, communicating is a huge, important aspect in not obsessing about guys. So hopefully you can take these tips and help improve this ATL.
Code up.
2 plus 2 is 4, right?
Yes. Yes, it is.
I were asked questions at the beginning of the school year, being that I was way too afraid to even try. Asking questions, especially during tests, would have helped me so much in succeeding at the IEM. Tip number 3, do not be afraid to ask questions. It's so worth the semi-embarrassment of asking a stupid question, even if it isn't one, than not asking one getting a bad grade. Again, this would be reflection. Reflecting on what you don't know about a subject, matter, or topic and asking questions regarding those blind spots really helps in terms of growing your understanding. And last tip, don't be afraid to ask your question because everyone else probably has the same one. Reflection is a pretty big thing here at the IEM. Whether you're trying to figure out what you don't know before taking a test, or thinking about what you got wrong on the test, reflection will help you out a lot in figuring out what steps you take. Usually in a scenario like the one just given, where I'm trying to backtrack and figure out what happened, I'd reflect on my work by comparing the work that I got wrong to my notes that I took in my class, which is why note-taking and the organization ATL itself is super important here. More on that later. But in a scenario where I don't know what I'm doing, much less what I'm doing wrong, I find it really helpful to ask questions, either to my teacher or other classmates. Even though asking questions is said all the time by teachers, parents, and now me, I guess, as a means of understanding and reflection, it helps out so much. Trust me, there were so many points at the beginning of freshman year here where I regretted not asking questions that ended up popping up on an important test, or even the midterm, econ.
Oh my god, I heard about Mr.
When I first came to school, I was petrified to go to people and talk to them. I was afraid of what they would think about me, if they would judge me, and so forth. But with little discovery, I found that everyone is just as scared as you are about making that first conversation. So it isn't necessary to worry too much. Tip number 4, find your group and stick with them. Hey Mataha, did you study for econ?
No, I really haven't yet.
Me neither, I'm just gonna wing it.
This would fall under the social ATL included in building and maintaining relationships. By being social with others and talking to them, you can maintain and build great relationships with your peers that will ultimately end up being positive for both of you. Maybe even a little bit too positive.
What's going on back there?
What did the cell say to the other cell that stepped on her toe?
What did it say? I actually hate all these people.
Not only is the social ATL seen in the hallways or friend groups, it is also seen in group projects. This leads into the subcategory of collaboration. Collaboration includes working effectively with others, and while many freshmen may think that they're good at this, I am here to tell you that you're not. All of us were used to carrying group projects prior to IAM, being labeled the smart kid or the only one that did work.
You know the answers,
This leads to freshmen hogging work from each other, which is not even close to ideal. If you end up being outcasted anyways, voice your opinion and state that you are indeed part of the group as well. Feedback is always necessary when improving the group's efficiency and relationship as well as yourself. Although hogging work is not a good idea, a leader is usually needed to keep a group on task, but they still do not have the right to hog any work. Alternatively, use social media appropriately to communicate about what work should be done, by when, and by who. This will resolve most issues before they even occur because everyone in the group already has their set job. However, if an issue does arise, be sure to not exclude anyone from the decision making and be fair when coming to a consensus. A pros and cons list typically helps when deciding which idea to use.
I'm literally the most organized person you'll ever meet, and that hasn't changed since the beginning of school year. But some of my other friends weren't as fortunate at the beginning of school year. The final tip is writing your homework and test down in a planner. This will help you immensely in school, especially here, being that we have 8 classes to track.
This would tie into self-management ATL, or more specifically, the self-organization aspect of ATL. Being organized with yourself will only be beneficial to you during the school year, and keeping a planner or sticky notes on your laptop will immensely help you with this ATL. Again, my friend wasn't so lucky in that respect.
Time to show me your homework. We had homework?
You may not realize it now, but as you go on here at the IAM, you'll realize that organization is key. According to Cron, there are 2 large advantages to being organized. To begin with, it saves you time and stress. When you have your work in a designated place like a folder, you don't have to rack your brain 5 minutes before a homework assignment is due, trying to remember where it is and end up finding it crumpled and folded at the bottom of your backpack. This is definitely not a true story. Being organized also lets you meet your deadlines and not forget about your 12 VHLs that you have due later that night. Also, not a true story. So, personally, I like to keep organized with my day-to-day tasks by using either sticky notes on my laptop or Google Tasks. I guess the agenda that you get in the beginning of the year works too, but for me, consistently taking it out to write an assignment ended up being a hassle, whereas my laptop would be there consistently and it would also be available all the time. Additionally, I also have a folder for each class and color code my notes with different colored highlighters and pens, but according to my friends, I'm a very type A person, so I guess that's individualistic to me. But I definitely would recommend using a means of color organization in your notes, because according to Harvard professor George Alvarez, separating branches of your map by color stimulates the creative side of your brain, helps you visually separate and recall distinct themes of the stuff you're working through.
Study for vocab tests and history.
Don't get caught up in getting in a relationship.
Ask your questions, even if they seem stupid.
Find your group of friends right off the bat.
And keep a planner at all times.
Good luck, freshmen!